Hello, everyone. So today I'm joined with Phoenix. Welcome back to the channel, Phoenix.
Thank you.
And today we're going to talk about serendipitous magic and magic in general. So this is going to be a wide range of topics, all crammed into kind of one below 20-minute video. But I kind of wanted to start out with the elements. There's a number of ways you can offer to spirits or gods and get close to elements. So if you want to offer, for instance, the Vodou Loa can be offered with water, or they can be offered with flammable rum. And if you want to light the rum on fire, then you have that fire before you. They will greatly appreciate it. It's like they're drinking the rum themselves. But when it comes to the element of water, you can offer that to not only spirits, not only Loa, but gods in general, especially rainwater. If you want to go outside and collect that rainwater by putting a bowl when it's raining, and then come back to your shrine and offer that to the god or spirit, that would be amazing. But there's also meditations you can do with the same elements. So when we're thinking about water, you might want to gather some water, put it in a bowl, sit before it, and meditate, and put two fingers into the water and just feel the energy of that water. Where did it come from? What does it mean within you? How can you incorporate that into your emotional stability? Because water is a very emotional element. Is there anything else you'd like to say on water or the elements in general in relation to gods and spirits?
Not really, no.
What kind of spirits have you worked with that you've offered to?
Okay, several. I've worked with some of the Goetia. I have worked with Astarte. I have worked with one Loa. I think it was Miss Imerzuli. She has 3 wedding rings, 3 husbands. I think it's Imerzuli. I have worked with Aphrodite once when I first started. I've worked with Michael and the Archangels and some Hebrew god names in the Lesser Banishing Ritual of Pentagram, as well as planetary spirits, not necessarily ones in general. I just call on them in the day day and hour of that planetary day.
So the
Or
Lesser
even
Banishing Ritual, where can people find that? Like, what have you read a book or?
it's by the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. It
Mhm.
was publicized. Several people, I won't name who, but you can search it up, or just LBRP on YouTube, and you can learn that. I'm actually working on the Lesser of the Hexagram ritual right now, which banishes planetary influences. So, anyways, I've worked with those. I have worked with many. I'm trying to think of the other one. I can't think of it right now, but
So
from
when you're talking
gods
about
to angels to
when you're talking about
daemons.
banishing planetary influences, can you banish what your own astrology is as far as what planets
Yes,
you're
I
connected with?
mean you can banish it all. I'm not exactly sure how it works. I'm still studying it because it not only goes into banishing but invoking. You can invoke the exact planetary day and hour you need, and it even goes into some of the newer non-7 traditional planets, if I'm not mistaken. And based on how you do it, and the Aurorita and the incantations you use and invocations, and the way you draw the hexagram, you can invoke and banish. You could banish every single influence from planetary aspects completely.
So what are you left with after you banish those? Is it something that you just kind of create for yourself, like your own influences that you gather from?
Well, when you do the LBRP, you normally open with that before you go into the hexagram. So you pull down, you connect with this divine divinity, this light, and you pull it down into yourself, and you solidify yourself as a supreme creator. And this, some people see it as connecting with the creator. Either way, once you've done that, if you banish planetary influences, you're saying, I don't need this. In my opinion, it's going to be so with or without this because it is what I say. It becomes your word. You speak it. But I would actually do invocation after because I work with Jupiter spirits, Venus spirits, all of them. I actually give offerings to the planets themselves because they were said to be gods. You know, Mercury was Hermes. Mars was Aries, not the zodiac sign, but the god of war, and etc. Venus was Astarte, or Aphrodite.
And it's interesting because I actually want to bring up a topic that most people don't know about, but I'm going to ask you and see if you know about this. The rings around Saturn. There was actually a moon that basically was Tiamat's, and I'm sure you know who Tiamat was. But when she was destroyed by the forces of Marduk, that moon in the material realm was destroyed and created the rings. Do you are you aware of Tiamat? And do you think Tiamat is related to Saturn in a big way?
I haven't. I've heard it mentioned. I'm not too familiar with that. I do know either way, like Saturn was said to bind, and it's not necessarily just the rings. It is law, it is order, it is the rules, it is this reality kind of held together. That's more of the symbolism behind Saturn.
Yeah. And so when we're thinking about, so I have a lot of plutonic nature. I've kind of recently, in the past year, kind of embraced my own plutonic nature.
Right.
I have most of my houses in Pluto. So that general energy has brought me closer to the dead. I've always been close to the dead, but I've started to realize it within the past year how close I am to them. So your own houses, how do you feel an influence in the areas that your own houses are placed? Is there any particular place your own houses are set?
So, like, my moon is ruled by Mars. Scorpio, both Scorpios, is ruled by Mars and Pluto. Okay? My Mars, that rules my Sun, my Venus, my Juno, my Moon, my Saturn, my Lilith, and my Chiron, and my Ceres. Or not my Ceres. There's something else I can't think of right now. My Chiron. Rules all that, because I have Mars and Pluto placements, but both are ruled by Mars, is in Virgo in the 7th. So that brings us kind of interconnectedness to, that rules over my Venus, my love style. It's not only very Scorpio in the 8th house like it is, it's also Virgo in the 7th Libra, and everything I feel kind of interconnected with. My Pluto, one of my other ruling planets that rules over my other stuff, is right next to a bunch of other stuff like my midheaven, my Mercury, my communication in the 9th, which also rules over my Scorpio aspect, so it brings forth this kind of Sagittarius, as it's also in that constellation, way of studying things and learning things about spirituality and death, etc. But I feel how it's all kind of connected in a sense. I connect to my chart and all, but also to other people, because I can just kind of feel, but that's being an empath. That's not really the houses.
Yeah, and being empath is very difficult all the time. It leads a lot of us to actually alcoholism and drug abuse because we're so connected to other people that we have to numb ourselves. It feels too much. We're taking in too many emotions from different people. We're actually taking in too much emotional information. So we want to numb ourselves, and it's huge pain in our spiritual lives and in our personal lives and every part of our lives. So when we're both Scorpios, so. Have you tried to connect with the god Mars or Ares? I mean, God or Ares in the Greek pantheon, but have you tried
Father Mars, in that sense, I've given blood and candle offerings to, as well as incense, just during my Mars return, because it's actually coming to end right now. On the day it returned to the exact degree, I gave an offering thanking him for the gift of, the return, one of my main rulers, and by doing that, other things were heightened. Because when you give, you get back 3-10-fold, somewhere around there. But yeah, I haven't really connected with Aries in that sense. I've used the constellations of the zodiac. I haven't worked with Ophiuchus yet, one of the 12 that was actually 13 that got removed. But I've worked with stuff like that, yeah. Not quite how you're talking about it.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, I'm a blood magician. I work with blood quite a bit.
Hey, same here.
Yeah, we both work with blood. So do you feel like blood magic, as far as being an offering to a spirit or god, or even to yourself, and creating effigy or a picture of yourself or rune work and casting that to yourself, do you feel like blood is a good offering? And is there any way that
if you don't desensitize yourself to it, that answers both questions right there. Don't desensitize yourself to it. Feel that essence as if it's your blood, sweat, and tears in a sense. You can even use that for binding. You put that blood on a string of the person you're binding, you put your blood, sweat, and tears to it. Understand the symbolism behind it. I know it's easy just to do it and you feel the energy coursing through you. It's much more powerful when you kind of appreciate it in a sense, if you get what I mean. And don't desensitize yourself to it. You just know it's powerful and working. No, feel it. Let that boil up within you so it gets, and that, not just blood magic, everything, so it gets more powerful. But yet, if you can have a detached state while you're doing that, yet feel that, but just allow it to come and go, don't pay too much attention to it, that can be powerful too.
Excellent. Yeah, I mean, that totally makes sense. And
I would say kind of be like water. Like, I don't remember you can put it up on there. I'll figure it out when we end the video because I can't think of who now. But he talked about be like water, be fluid, be flexible, cold, still, movement, all that. So in a sense, be like water, but also be like fire, earth, wind, and air. Take it all on.
Water might be soft, but it breaks apart the strongest stone. And when we so that understanding of blood, which is a good one, I think of it as sacred elixir. It's your personal sacred elixir. When you're offering that to a spirit or God, do you think that there's a danger in that? Because in and of itself, that's very close to a pact. You're basically tying that God or spirit to you. It's not only an offering, which is great if it's your blood, but you're tying yourself to that spirit or God. Do you think that there's a danger in that? I don't think that there's a huge danger if you know that spirit or God, for me personally. But do you think
I
that there
think
can
there's
be a
more
danger?
of a danger if it's just some wandering you kind of started working with by doing, say, blind evocation or stuff, or if another spirit tries to steal that. You can do heavy banishing, but you might have stuff attached to you from somewhere, or even just energy thought forms that came to life, other people you've picked up. So they can try and steal that energy. Offering to the spirit itself, not necessarily. I offered blood to Belial more than one occasion, and he kind of came to me in a dream, and I was getting arrested, and I know, he doesn't like police, so I started screaming in this dream the incantation, and I'm not going to say it now because I don't want to bring it to people's houses who don't want to work them. But
Yeah.
And then in that dream, I'm like, I swear, if you get me out of these cuffs, I'll give you a blood sacrifice. And I walked away fine. But that was in a dream, so he kind of was like, oh, he wants an actual animal sacrifice now. He wants to do something greater with me. So if you're afraid of that, just be aware of that. I wouldn't say it's necessarily a danger. It's just something to be aware of.
We're talking about dreams, which is actually something that I was thinking about going into. I think that 95% of my dreams don't have very much deep meaning. I think that the other 5, if I sponge them enough, maybe, but I think there's 5% of my dreams that are just so potent that they just imprint themselves in my brain that I can't forget a single second of them. No matter if they last for hours, no matter if they last for longer than that, they just last for a very long time. I'm sleeping for a very long time, which is rare,
Right.
but perhaps my whole night of sleep, I won't forget a single second of it. So when it comes to working with dreams, I find that it's best to know your own personal symbolism. You have to understand your own associations with different symbols, whether it be your association with a cross, whether it be your association with a mound of earth, or a fleck of gold, or with a dog and some other animal, or whether it's with association with perhaps a building that you've had that was a part of your life when you were younger, or right now you have to go into work. Maybe your car is an association and a symbol. Is it difficult for you to figure out your own symbols when you're interpreting dreams? Because
Most of the stuff I have
it's
is
very
pretty
difficult.
blatant and blunt. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. Most of the time it's pretty blatant and blunt for me in dreams. But sometimes you also got to be careful. Was this really a spiritual dream? Was this my subconscious making it seem spiritual? Was this the food I ate doing that? So even when a dream seems very spiritual, it could be a fear. It could be from any source. You got to keep that in mind. I mean, did you know you travel when you slept? Not necessarily the astral plane, but you're traveling within your conscious. When you sleep, you travel. So that's why, to me, lucid dreaming and really learning that what I'm working on now, which is really important, so you heighten your awareness around that and you can kind of start to see.
It's kind of like you're delving within your own. So it's dreams are a meeting point between the subconscious and the conscious. So it's kind of like our subconscious saying, look, how do you really understand this symbol? How do you really understand this or that or this lesson? And then you're like, okay, well, I think I understand it this way, but maybe I don't. You start to really look at something that was proposed by your subconscious. So it's so important to incorporate your dreams into your magical practice. And then when you have these certain symbols that come up in your dreams, you have to try and work with them in your own magical practice. If you're creating a sigil, or if you're creating, maybe it's just a pictogram, you incorporate that into your sigil, that understanding from the dream. If maybe it's just the symbol itself, and then when you cast that spell, especially with your own blood, then you're not only connecting your life essence, but you're also connecting your subconscious, and then your conscious with the casting of the spell. It makes it that much more potent. So you send it out into the universe, and it's more likely to stay cold because you have all of these potent parts of yourself becoming one. Would you agree with that? Is it something that you've ever considered as far as casting spells, incorporating your dreams, and then other parts of yourself?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I can. Yeah, I would say so. But
Yeah.
if you go into a lucid dream or an astral projection and you cast there, first of all, I would recommend heavy banishing and protection because especially if you're on the astral plane, anything wandering around might want to fuck with it. So if you do that, I've heard it's more powerful.
Yeah.
I mean,
that makes sense.
when I'm doing ritual, I can feel my consciousness rise above my crown chakra and my body at times and look over myself. But I still see from this, but I am feeling my spirit leave my body as I do ritual. I mean, I have came and I've once, and I looked at maybe more than once. I was looking through my eyes, but at the same time, I had a bird's eye view of myself walking and going up my stairs back to my apartment. So. I wouldn't necessarily say that's more powerful, but moving on. What do you want to get into next?
So I was thinking if what kind of incense or herbs do you use? Because some of my favorite incense is, of course, frankincense and dragon blood. I mean, I love dragon's blood. Frankincense is best for just burning every day. For me, dragon's blood, when I just want an extra boost, especially to my own vibration, they very much vibrate with the same thing that I want to encourage within myself. And white sage is huge for me, and then every now and then mugwort.
Yeah. Those you've listed, I work with. I have this thing called Egyptian goddess, sage, dragon's blood, mugwort, frankincense, sometimes myrrh, cinnamon. You can burn cinnamon as an incense. That is very versatile, so you can use that for many things. Sometimes I just get simple incense sticks for archangels, or there's one to reduce the negative traits in all the zodiac and increase the positive in all the zodiac. So that can actually clear up your whole chart. I use that a lot. I've started using that again. Patchouli, lavender, many things. Mostly right now, frankincense, and then offerings, dragon's blood, frankincense, and the Egyptian goddess incense I have.
I find that Nag Champa and Sandal are really good for when I'm trying to meditate. They're great. And when I'm working with the dead, of course, myrrh. I actually don't like to use myrrh any other time besides working with the dead, when I'm doing, either when I'm offering to the dead on my altar or I'm actually in a graveyard. I would say that, there's certain resins, like a frankincense resin, that are good, but I actually like it when it's just more airy. Resins are just very pungent. They're very heavy on the lungs. But there are, of course, like Chandan, that's a Hindu incense. It's very like frankincense. But I find that incense, I associate, or I use the incense in very particular circumstances. But I burn frankincense all the time. But anyway, moving on from herbs and frankincense, is there anything that you'd like to recommend for people out there who don't really know how to start a magical practice, what to learn about, or kind of what to do just on a personal level at all?
Kind of what we've been talking about. Just take from everywhere. I do recommend focusing on one thing, but also looking around, but having one main thing. I struggle with that. I have ADD like a motherfucker. So, and it's not ADH. It's the more mental, or it's racing. So for me, I'm a serendipitous magician. That's kind of why we titled this video this. I pull from everywhere and just throw it together. And I'll learn one thing like the LBRP, get it down, and I've used that to open and close every time, as well as some other stuff. And I just draw from everywhere. So kind of be serendipitous, but find your own path and stick to it. But also be open and fluid enough to take and learn from everywhere.
Yeah. I definitely agree with that.
Also, daily chakra work if you're just starting out, and even if you're still in it. Lam, Vam, Ram, Yam, Ham, Om, Ah, or just Om, because it's for both these, but Ah is the other one for this. And just keep chanting that. And if you have mala beads, count that and power up your energy centers, because that's what you put into ritual.
Definitely. That makes sense. Hey, thank you very much, Phoenix, for joining me on this video.
Thank you.
And anybody out there who has any questions, comments, concerns, shoot them down in the comment section below. I'd love to address them. Maybe Phoenix will address them as well. And be sure to really consider yourself in your own spiritual practice. At any rate, thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see all of you on the channel in the future.